Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mohawk Motors. My name is Jason. So I'm cruising along on this project. You're actually seeing multiple videos in one day because I'm trying to break this stuff up and present it in digestible chunks. So the last video was getting the cooling system and everything else all filled up, ready to go. I've got oil in it, power steering fluid, coolant. I held a vacuum on the air conditioning system. It didn't leak. So I think all of that stuff is ready to go. So now I got to get into the electrical portion of this. Now, what I think I've done, and I hope I've done, is make this very easy for myself, because I'm using an engine and harness out of a 2006 Silverado, and it's going into a 2007 Silverado Classic. And to my knowledge, those 2 years are electronically the same. As far as I know, there's nothing different about them in the electrical systems. So what I'm really hoping, and I've already done a little bit of behind the scenes homework, is that this is pretty much going to be a plug and play setup for me. Now I have my main harness connector for the engine. That goes with obviously the engine and the engine harness. Now there's also 2 other connectors in here that branch off of it. We've got this black connector. I can't remember, I think it's C101. I can't remember for sure. But what I did as a little behind the scenes homework here is I looked at this connector on the V6 harness and checked that all the wires in the V6 harness are present here in the V8 harness. Now the V8 harness does have a few wires that the V6 harness doesn't, because it has cruise control. Okay, I'm gonna have to, I want to get the cruise control functional in this thing, but I think it's going to have to be in a separate video because I still have more research to do and figure out exactly what is or isn't present that I need to add. But this connector here, everything matches up with the V6 harness, so I should be able to just plug that back together and then get it situated where it belongs. Same with the white connector. Now I think this is C102, also can't remember, so don't quote me on that. But I did the same thing. I compared the wire colors, pin locations to the V6 connector, top and bottom, and they all match up. Now this one also has a few wires that the V6 harness doesn't have. Again, I'm pretty sure that's part of cruise control, making the cruise control system work. So I think, again, this one should be plug it in, good to go. The main harness connector here, to my knowledge, these are pretty much 03 to 07 Classic. This connector is pretty much the same, 99 to 02 with drive-by cable throttle body. Those are different. So make sure that you're using a fuse panel that matches your connector. The other stuff here, this is all stuff that was here before. This is the frame chassis harness connector. You know, runs back to your brake lights, turn signals, tag lights, fuel sending unit, fuel pump, etc., etc. We've got some large power feeds. This goes into the cab. This is the cab harness, and then this is your front end light harness. I'm going to get started on hooking all this stuff together and plugging things in and getting the wires tucked in where they belong. I think, like I said, I think this should be plug and play. I really have my fingers crossed that it is. So if I come across any issues, I'll bring you back. But if not, then we'll move on to the next thing. All right, took a little dinner break. So I've got everything under the fuse panel, all connected. Everything plugged right in, just like I suspected it would, hoped it would. It seems to match up pretty well. I've got my battery cables here, but now I actually have 2 problems I need to solve. So the first problem is, this is the TAC module. It works for the electronic throttle pedal. And the problem I need to figure out here is, TAC module mounts right over here on a factory truck that was originally V8. Now, because this one was drive-by cable, I guess GM did not weld the 3 little studs there that usually mount it. So I'm gonna have to drill and tap that so I can put some bolts in to hold it. I'm gonna try to use bolts that are very similar in appearance to the factory studs and nuts, so it'll look really close to factory, even though it won't be exactly right. And then the other problem I have is I need the hole in the firewall for my pedal harness to pass through. Now the nice thing is, hopefully you guys can see it here. I got this wire out of the way. There we go. But the harness usually passes right through here, and there's actually a little dimple right here in the firewall. So what I'm thinking will work is if I take the inner fender out, I should have enough space that I can get a drill in and drill that with a pilot, drill a pilot hole there, and then use a hole saw to drill it out big enough for the grommet that passes through. And then I'll have my grommet in the right location. It should look pretty factory. So I'm gonna get started on those 2 things and see if I can't get that knocked out real quick. And then I think it's gonna be, I'll have to delete VATs out of the PCM real quick. And I think it's gonna be time to try to give this thing a start, see if it'll crank over and fire. So I got the inner fender out, and I just wanna show you guys from a better angle. Right here is the little dimple I was talking about. So I can push my drill bit into that, drill my pilot hole, and then I'll double check on the inside just to make sure there's nothing there that I'm gonna hole saw into. I'm pretty sure there's not, and then I'll use just a plain old hole saw to cut that hole and then get my wire harness fed through. Not too difficult. All right, got my hole right in the factory location. So now I'll just feed my harness through. Grommet goes in from the inside out, so I'll feed that through, and then I'll work on getting that tack module mounted. Okay, so I need to swap my throttle pedal assembly. This is the drive-by-wire throttle pedal for the L33, and this is the bracket it mounts to. Now this is another spot where getting compatible same parts donor as your truck saves you some effort. The 06 and the 07 classic trucks are electronically the same. So they use the same throttle pedal, the same bracket. And underneath of here, you can see the drive-by cable throttle has 3 10mm bolts that mount it to the firewall. So I'll be able to remove those 3 10mm bolts, take out the drive-by cable throttle pedal, and then just bolt in my drive-by-wire throttle pedal. Now, if you were to get electronically dissimilar trucks, for example, let's say you had a 2003 truck and you were trying to put a 2006 or 2007 classic throttle pedal drive system in it, it's not as easy as just unbolting 3 bolts. You actually have to replace the entire bracket that the pedal mounts to. So another instance of do your homework, find out which years of parts and truck are the same, are interchangeable easily, and that'll save you some headaches during your swap. In my experience, again, the 99 to 02 drive-by cable engines, you're not even going to have to mess with that if you're putting it into a 99 to 02 drive-by cable truck. All you're going to have to do is get the throttle cable from the V8 and put that in place of the throttle cable from the V6. The late '02 and '03 to '05 trucks, you have to change out the entire bracket that mounts down there. Hold on, I have one I can show you. This whole piece in the '03 to '05 trucks, the throttle pedal doesn't just bolt on with a simple little 3-nut bracket like this. The studs are actually in a different location and part of this metal piece, and it's different between the drive-by cable V6 truck and the drive-by wire V8 truck. So '03 to '05, you'll have to swap out this entire piece. So make sure you grab that if you're getting parts off a donor. And then like I was just saying before, '06 and '07 Classic, electronically the same. So it's just 3 10mm bolts out, 3 10mm bolts in, and your throttle pedal swapped. Progress. So throttle pedal is mounted, wired. I don't know how well you can see, but it's all in there like it should be. And then got the tech module mounted. Now I'm pretty sure this connector has some of the wires I need for cruise control. So like I said, that'll be another video in the future. And then down there you can see I've got my throttle pedal wires coming through the firewall, factory location. Tach module mounted up as close to factory as I can measure with my calibrated eyes. So I think we're good here. I gotta get the fender put back in, mount that wheel back up, and then we'll be ready for a first start. I am going to go take the VATS anti-theft out of the computer just real quickly because it won't run unless I do that. And the computer stuff will be a separate video. But I'm going to do that. I'll record it, show it to you later. And then I think from that point on, that'll probably be the end of this video. I'll flick the key and we'll see if it starts. Okay, everybody, so this is going to be fairly straightforward on this one. I've already downloaded the stock tune out of the PCM. I saved it as a stock file, and now I need to remove VATS. So in order to do that, I'm going to go into the System tab. Under General, I see Security, VATS Control. I'm going to set it to None. Okay, that's all I need to do. Now I'm going to make one, actually I'm not. I'm just going to do that and then I'm going to go see if the thing starts. Before I do that though, I need to save it as a new file in here, and I'm going to create the folder to save it in, and I'm going to say it stock tune, that's deleted. 6/26/23. There we go. Save it. Now I need to write the computer. I have to license it. Oh, look at that. I can unlock unlimiteds. Okay. Yes, I'm sure. Now this is important. In order to get VATS off of it, you need to do write entire. Click write. And now we just wait for it to finish. Usually it takes a couple minutes. It's important when you do this, you don't want the battery to go dead, you don't want to turn the key off, not like, basically just leave the entire truck alone, do something else, you know, watch my latest video for 4 minutes while you wait for this thing to do its rewrite of the computer with VATs taken out. And then there we go. She's all finished up. It says write completed in green. That's it. Close it out. And then disconnect it. That's all there is to it. All right, you guys, I think I got just enough daylight left to try this. I got the anti-theft deleted out of the computer. I'm pretty sure I've got all the wiring all connected, hooked up, happy, and ready to go. I'm gonna connect the battery, do one more check on all the fluids, make sure that I've got engine oil, power steering fluid, transmission fluid, make sure everything is topped off and ready to go. And then I think I'm gonna try to start this thing. All right, everybody, the fluids are all full, the battery's hooked up. I can't think of anything else that I need to check. So we're gonna do it together. Let's see if this thing starts. I'll probably prime the key once or twice just to prime the fuel system back up. And then we'll see if she fires. Gauge cluster lit up, that's a good sign. Prime it one more time. I can hear stuff happening. I'm pretty sure I heard the fuel pump run. No fuel leaks underneath. No fuel leaks under the hood. All right, here we go. Sorry, team. You're gonna have to come back next week and see if this thing starts or not. I think it's gonna start and run just fine, but you gotta come back and see. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until the next video, everybody, take care.